The story of Ganesha made of jaggery.
Once, a devotee made an idol of Lord Ganesha out of jaggery. He wanted to offer Lord Ganesha something but had nothing at home. He then pinched Lord Ganesha's stomach, took some jaggery out of it, and offered it to the Lord. We presume to do a great charity when we offer any donation to a temple. We think so even though the Lord has given us the money. Similarly, though God resides as the indweller within everyone, we think as if we are helping others. We forget that we are offering the Lord the same thing He has granted us. We feel as if we are giving. With this sense of doership, we are increasing our ignorance and, thereby, our births. Whenever we make any charity, if we consider that the right hand is giving to the left hand, we will get released from bondage.
Moral of the story: whatever we offer to God is given by Him only.
The story of Frog in a Well.
Once, a frog that lived in an ocean visited another frog that resided in a well. The frog from the ocean started describing the length, breadth, and depth of the ocean. Having listened to it, the frog in the well made a short jump. Referring to its jump, it asked the frog from the ocean, "Is the ocean as big as this?" The frog from the ocean replied, "No." Then the frog in the well made a long jump and asked again, "Is the ocean as big as this?" The frog from the ocean became clueless about how to answer and kept quiet.
Moral of the story: the worldly people, who enjoy the external and worldly joy, attained from sensory objects, cannot understand the infinite bliss of Brahman, and resemble the frog in a well.
The story of two friends.
Once, two friends went to a neighboring nation on the pretext of trade. They earned lots of money and were traveling back to their native place. Both of them possessed a money bag with them. Both of them had to traverse through a path that contained a forest. They were traveling all alone without any other company. In the middle of their journey, they rested under a tree. They fell fast asleep. One of the friends woke up suddenly. He got a bad idea. No one is watching me right now. If I kill my friend and push his dead body into the nearby well, no one can trace it. I can own even his money and lead a happy life. He immediately implemented that bad idea. He hit his friend's head with a big stone. Though the friend did not die and was taking his last breath, he threw him into the nearby well. Before dying, the injured friend uttered the following final words: "Oh, you thought that none was watching you and hence did this heinous act." Looking at the clouds moving in the sky, the dying friend said, "These clouds are only the witness for your act." After uttering these final words, he died. The friend who murdered laughed within himself. He thought, "How can the clouds become the witness?" Thinking thus, he returned to his village with the 2 bags of money and married and lived happily. One day in the summer, when the wife and husband were resting on the top of their house, a few clouds were passing in the sky. Looking at those clouds, he remembered his friend's last words about the clouds being the witness and laughed within himself. The wife asked him the reason for his laughter. He said, "Nothing." She then pleaded with him to tell her the reason for his laughter. He then told her the entire story only after she promised she would not reveal it to anyone. However, she had a weakness of inability to hide things from others. The very next day, she narrated the entire story to her neighbor. Thus the news spread among people and finally reached the king. The king gave him a death sentence for having killed his friend.
Moral of the story: truth reveals itself.
The story of parrots.
We get our relatives only according to our destiny. We must be cautious in selecting our friends. There is a story regarding this. There were two parrot sisters. One of the parrot sisters was stolen by a thief. An ascetic carried away the other sister. Both the parrots were sisters and were born and brought up in the same house. Once, a king went out hunting. He lost his way and reached the thief's house, who stole one of the parrot sisters. The parrot was at the entrance of the house. Seeing the king, it started uttering, "He has come. He has come. Kick him, catch him, kill him." The king got frightened. The parrot was signaling the thief that someone had come and indicating the thief to loot him. The other parrot sister, who was being groomed by the ascetic, was at the entrance of the ascetic's residence. The ascetic stayed inside, and the parrot stayed outside. Whoever visited the ascetic saw the parrot uttering thus, "Please come inside. Please be seated. Our ascetic is inside. He will come out. Please come inside and be seated." Thus the parrot honored all the visitors. Both the parrots were brought up in the same house. However, by befriending a thief, one of the parrots became rude, and by befriending an ascetic, the other parrot became polite. It is the same even with human beings. People progress only based on their friendship. People ruin only based on their company. If the friends are good, even the bad people get converted into good people. If the friends are bad, even the good people get converted into bad ones. Even for spiritual evolution, the holy company is required.
Moral of the story: people progress or ruin only based on their friendship. Holy company is required for spiritual evolution.
The story of floods in Godavari.
Once, there were severe floods in the Godavari River. Lots of lotus flowers were being flooded in the currents of Godavari. Whenever there were floods, it was natural that a few excellent swimmers got into the river, brought those lotus flowers, and sold them on river banks. Therefore, one swimmer entered the river and attempted to get a lotus flower. However, he failed to reach the shore. The other swimmers on the shore shouted at him, "You are getting flooded away in the river. Leave that lotus and come back." The swimmer replied, "I left the lotus very long back, but it is not leaving me. It does not seem to be a lotus flower but seems to be a bear. As it is frightened that it may lose its life, it is not leaving me but catching hold of me." Similarly, by continuously listening to our Guru's preaching, we understand that only our likes and dislikes are the origin of our sorrow, ignorance, and rebirth. When we decide to eliminate them, we start trying to overcome them. But they will not leave us. If we surrender to Guru and keep trying repeatedly, out of grace, the Guru will slowly ensure we overcome our likes and dislikes.
Moral of the story: though we may want to eliminate our likes and dislikes, they will not leave us.
The story of a fruit tree and the wind god.
This is a story from Mahabharata. Once, there existed a fruit-giving tree that gave delicious fruits. It grew into a beautiful tree by which it became proud. Having observed its pride, sage Narada went to the tree and said, "O tree, how are you doing? How are the things around you?" The tree replied, "I am doing well and fine." Then sage Narada asked, "Don't you have any fear?" The tree replied very proudly, "Why shall I fear? I am not afraid of anyone." Sage Narada asked, "Are you not even afraid of rain and wind?" The tree replied, "No, I am not afraid of even rain or wind." Sage Narada carried these words to the wind god. Then the wind god approached the tree and asked it, "What? Have you said that you are not even afraid of me?" The tree replied, "Yes, I am not afraid of you." Then the wind god said he would return tomorrow and left the place. The tree felt afraid that the wind god might squeeze out its life. It felt that the wind god, along with its leaves and roots, might destroy it completely. The tree felt, "If I am alive, I can give birth to fresh and new leaves." Thinking thus, it shook itself, threw down all its leaves and fruits, and stood still. The next day, the wind god visited the tree and asked, "Why have you become so still?" The tree replied, "I have lost my entire pride. Therefore I have thrown away my entire leaves and fruits before your arrival." The wind god left after having heard these words.
Moral of the story: do not combat people stronger than you. If you are humble, you can overcome any distress.
The story of the earthen pot.
Once, a potter made a small earthen pot out of mud by burning and drying it. He painted the pot and made it beautiful. Whoever saw the pot thought, "Ah, how beautiful the pot looks." However, the pot was very sad within. It thought, "I am converted into a pot and beautifully painted. But how do people know how sorrowful I am? I am waiting for the day when I will get broken and merge back into the mud." Thinking so, the pot waited sorrowfully to get merged into the mud. However, the pot forgot one thing and became sorrowful. The pot forgot that it is mud only, even when called a pot. If the mud is removed from the pot, there is no existence to the name and form of the pot. The pot became sorrowful when it forgot that it is mud only, even when being called a pot. The identification of the pot with its name and form made it sorrowful. It became sorrowful on forgetting its source, that is, mud. It can overcome its sorrow only by becoming aware that though it is called a pot, its very nature is mud. Similarly, our very nature is consciousness only. Our source is consciousness only. Still, we forget our source and identify ourselves with the name and form of a 6-foot body, thereby becoming sorrowful. Though the pot exists very much as mud, it still wants to merge back into the mud. Similarly, though we are very much consciousness, we still try to become consciousness. We perform every spiritual practice only with the thought that until and unless we merge into consciousness, we cannot get rid of our sorrow. Even when we consider ourselves bodies, our very nature is consciousness. We lost that awareness. A body devoid of consciousness is but a corpse. Without consciousness, there is no existence for us. We must lose our wrong identification with our name and form, to get rid of our sorrow. Even when the body exists, if we identify ourselves with the supreme consciousness and such awareness becomes permanent, we can become sorrowless. The world has no existence without name and form. Sorrow has no existence if we do not possess any thoughts. All thoughts arise only to the first thought of, I am the body.
Moral of the story: our very nature is consciousness, even when we identify ourselves with name and form.
The story of Scorpion.
Once, there lived a scorpion that wanted to cross a river. It wanted to reach the other bank of the river. However, it did not know how to swim. A tortoise came there when the scorpion was thinking about how to cross the river. Then the scorpion asked the tortoise, "Can you please take me ashore?" Then the tortoise replied, "No, you will bite me. I cannot take you ashore." Then the scorpion replied, "You will be doing me good by taking me ashore. Will I bite someone who will do me good? Though my very nature is to bite others, why will I bite someone who will do me good? I promise you that I will not bite." Thus the scorpion pleaded with the tortoise to take it ashore. The tortoise finally consented and said, "Get onto my back and hold my neck with your mouth." The scorpion did accordingly. The tortoise was swimming across the river. It was a small river. In the middle of the river, the scorpion forcibly got the thought, "Bite the tortoise, bite the tortoise." As the scorpion got habituated to biting others, it became its very nature. The tortoise was trying its best not to bite. It felt that it should not bite its benefactor. When the tortoise was about to reach the other bank, the scorpion bit the tortoise, unable to control itself. Unable to bear the pain, the tortoise threw the scorpion into the river, and the scorpion died. Before dying, the scorpion told the tortoise, "I tried my best not to bite you. But it is my very nature to bite others. My nature has overcome my effort of not biting you. It has led to my ruin." Saying thus, the scorpion died. Here the scorpion is our preceptor. Even though we always try not to criticize, judge, or see the faults in others, or hate others, our habits, which have been prevalent since several births, get converted into our nature, and overcome the effort by which we commit a mistake. Until and unless our nature changes, we cannot become recipients of the grace of God. Therefore we must take the refuge of a holy man and surrender to him. Gradually, with dispassion and practice, the sattvic attribute increases, and we will get released from ignorance.
Moral of the story: our long-standing habits get converted into our character, which cannot be changed merely by our self-effort.
The story depicting the power of faith.
Once, sage Narada was going towards Vaikuntha, the abode of Lord Vishnu. On the way, he saw an ascetic doing intense penance under a tree for several days. The ascetic asked sage Narada, "Swami, as you are going to Vaikuntha, please ask Lord Narayana when I will get liberated and tell me the Lord's reply in your return journey." Sage Narada consented to the same. When sage Narada went a little further, he saw another sage doing penance, who in turn asked sage Narada, "Please ask Lord Narayana when I will attain salvation." On the return journey, when sage Narada met the first ascetic, who was doing intense penance, he said, "Lord Narayana said that you will have to take 4 more births to attain liberation." The first ascetic felt very depressed and said, "Ah, what? I have to take 4 more births." Now sage Narada visited the second ascetic and said, Lord Narayana said that you will have to take birth as many times as the number of leaves on this tree, under which he was doing penance. The ascetic felt very happy with these words of sage Narada. He said, "So, it is sure that the Lord will grant me salvation. The Lord has consented that I am eligible to get liberated. This is enough for me." Stating so, he danced out of joy. Due to his faith and joy, he got liberated then and there. After that, he was not impacted by the force of destiny.
Moral of the story: faith shakes even the mountains.
The story of noses.
Once, a husband and wife lived. Both of them possessed curved noses. All their other features looked good, but everyone laughed at their curved noses. Hence they performed intense penance to please God. When God appeared before them, they asked, "Please grant us with beautiful noses." God said, "Be it so." Then their entire body was filled with beautiful noses. They seemed to be more mysterious than before. Therefore there was a big queue formed to look at them as if they were going to see a weird animal. Hence the couple again performed penance. When God appeared again, they asked thus, "Please ensure that all our noses vanish away." Then they were left with not even one nose. Looking at their pathetic state, they re-performed their penance and asked God, "Please grant us our original curved nose." Then they got back their original curved noses. We must be content with whatever we have. Sometimes our desires turn out to be our hanging ropes. We must feel that God knows much better than us what we need, and feel contented with whatever God gives us.
Moral of the story: even the Bhagavad Gita states, "A yogi is always contented and happy." Be content with whatever you have.